There's always a reason to blame your coach. Maybe they don't play you enough or use you correctly. Maybe coach made a bad lineup, yells too much, doesn't yell enough. Every player knows how it feels to be overlooked. But it's usually the same player that complains the most about playing time, that jumps out of the way on inside pitches, skips out on optional team stuff, or never thinks about laying out for balls on defense. In this video, I'll give you insider knowledge into how coaches think, how players can actually get on the field more, and even help you decide if you really need to have another meeting with your JV coach about playing time. A lot of the players that I have this conversation with argue that I've never been benched, and I don't understand their perspective, but I think every player relates in some way. In high school, I was called up to varsity as a sophomore, only to sit the majority of the games. The catcher in front of me was realistically not as talented as me, but he was older, more calm under pressure, hit lefties better, had more power at the time, and generally was the safer option looking back on it. I found myself wondering if I should talk to coach about it, but using my dad's advice, I figured something out that I think will help you guys out a ton. I showed up to practice early one day to get the field ready and asked coach if I could work out in the outfield. I also reminded him that I could play wherever he needed me. He agreed. The cool thing was I actually got a few starts in right field after that, simply because I was willing to play any position. And I don't know about you, but I'd rather start in right and bat ninth than sit the bench. Most players limit their ability to get on the field by sticking to one position. You can avoid the seniority bias from your coach if you're simply versatile, because chances are there isn't a senior starting at every position. If you can run serviceably well and play any position, including pitcher and catcher, it's virtually impossible for you to sit an entire season. A lot of the players I work with tell me they deserve more playing time, and usually, they're somewhat right. But the funny thing is, the second you start worrying about your playing time, you're already focused on the wrong thing. Because this conversation isn't really about baseball. A lot of players feel like if they're not starting, they're not valuable. And when you sit the bench while your friends are on the field, it can genuinely make you question yourself. But your value as a human being was never tied to the lineup card. I personally believe that every human being is priceless and loved equally by a greater power. And your coach deciding who starts on Friday night does not determine your worth as a person. And honestly, understanding that helps this whole conversation become a lot healthier. Let's take a coach's perspective for a second. If we use logic, we can first assume that most high school and college head coaches get paid. And like any other profession, if they fail to produce results in the form of winning games, they increase their chances of losing that job. Based on these facts, we can assume that coaches at these levels are largely driven by one incentive: winning. In most cases, coaches make decisions that will, in their mind, benefit the program in the long run and produce more wins. Though of course, there are horror stories and exceptions. So if we're going to figure out how a player can get on the field more often, we have to use this perspective. Before we decide if we should set up a meeting with coach, here's what we need to consider first. Most teams keep some form of stats. Look at batting average, OPS, on-base percentage. Specifically compare the players that play in front of you to yourself. Players almost never get 0 chances to hit in a season, even as a bench player. If you're genuinely 4 for 10 and the person ahead of you is 4 for 40, you might have an argument. Secondly, consider the competition. Bench players tend to get in against worse pitching during less meaningful parts of games. Going 3 for 3 against a school with 100 kids total is entirely different than doing it against a ranked team. Next, consider experience. Older players are usually more trustworthy in big games because they simply have more experience. Even if you're just as talented, the older player has the advantage. In the WBC championship game, Perez started over Contreras, despite Contreras being one of the top catchers in baseball right now, and it ended up working out. Coaches trust players who help them win in general, not just statistically. Ask yourself, do you show up on time, do extra work? Are you a positive and helpful teammate? Coaches do not want to play kids who pout, and a lot of times it becomes painfully obvious when a player believes they should be playing just because of their body language. Giving off bad vibes only hurts your chances. Here's another interesting thing to consider. The player who helps the team win isn't always the better player or the more talented player. In today's game, we heavily emphasize power, speed, and arm strength when evaluating skill. But there is so much more to winning a game than your tools alone. Consider things like base running and not making dumb outs, situational awareness, bunting, communication, and ability to handle pressure moments and clutch factor. Winning games goes deeper than how hard you can hit the ball in batting practice. Now, if you've made it this far and you still believe that scheduling a meeting with coach is actually necessary, here's how I'd go about it. Keep the vibes warm. Any negativity will destroy your chances here. Keep it short, because coaches hate long meetings about these things and they're usually crazy busy. Don't put down your teammates and never mention how poorly someone else is doing. Don't make it emotional, stick to the facts. If you're genuinely performing well statistically against strong competition, then just lay that out. But here's the key. Frame it around helping the team win. Say something like, I think I could help us win more games if I get more at-bats against righties, because I'm batting .400 against them this year. Also ask what you can improve or work on to get on the field and help the team win. Coaches usually will have great ideas for you. Just understand it might not be fun to hear what you're not good at, but as long as you don't get defensive, it ends up being a helpful conversation. One thing I'll add as well, I've had multiple players come in for lessons who claim that their coaches are all about politics and talk about how unfair it is that they don't get a chance to start. But at the same time, their team is undefeated and headed toward a repeat state championship. If your team is beating everyone, the coaches' lineups are working, and it's kind of hard for you to logically argue that they should change it just for you. So maybe you need to get in the lab more, show up early, stay late, be at the optional stuff, take care of your sleep, eat like someone who wants to perform, hydrate, hustle, learn how to bunt, base run, or even try a new position. You can help your team win by simply consistently acting in accordance with the goal of winning games as a team on and off the field. Your teammates and coaches will build off that energy and you'll get a better chance. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really about playing time. It's about learning how to contribute to something bigger than yourself and come out on top when odds are stacked against you. And the truth is, you can do all the things I mentioned in this video and still not get what you want right away. That's the beauty in it. Learning to give everything to the game while expecting nothing in return. And somewhere beyond that is a scenario where you're the starter. Not because you deserve it or want it, but because you being on the field simply helps the team win.